Next up is another very special guest, the Honourable David Kilgour, who was Canada's Secretary of State for Asia Pacific between 2002 and 2003, and is co-author of an independent report on the pillaging of the vital organs of the Falun Gong practitioners in China. David Kilgour.
Chers amis, chichi aux fenêtres dans l'ambassade de Chine. Ladies and gentlemen, many of the journalists visiting Beijing have already reported to their national audiences that the host government has failed to fulfill commitments when it won the Games in 2001. Independent media have made it clear that the Hu-Wen government is violating both the Olympic Charter and the core values of the National Olympic movement. Numerous world leaders will not be attending the opening ceremony in a few hours. Those now in Beijing should insist that the host honor its commitments. They should ask for the release of imprisoned Chinese journalists, the remaining Tiananmen prisoners, those jailed for peaceful Olympic criticism, for an end to the persecution of the Falun Gong community. The IOC should speak up too. Corporate sponsors must find a more effective way to communicate their customers' concerns. Foreign journalists, my friends, now know that human rights across China, already among the most systematically violated, have deteriorated further over the past year. Human rights leaders have been jailed. Leaders such as Gao Zhisheng. By the way, we have a report that he is being tortured in Beijing.
Shame, shame.
David Matas and I nominated him for the Nobel Peace Prize. He's one of the bravest human beings on this earth, and he's being tortured, I gather, right now. Taking sensitive cases are threatened and attacked. Law-abiding residents are forced to leave Beijing, and journalists are harassed. Among the violations of the Olympic Charter and the core values of the Olympic movement committed by the government of China even before the Games have started are these. David Matas, an international human rights lawyer known to many of you, and I last year concluded our independent investigation. We found to our deep and ongoing concern that since 2000, the government in China and its agencies have killed thousands of Falun Gong practitioners without any form of prior trial, and then sold their vital organs for large sums of money, often to organ tourists from wealthy countries like our own. We amassed a substantial body of evidence and became convinced beyond any doubt that this crime against humanity has occurred, and, Mr. Ambassador, is still occurring. Neither of us is a Falun Gong practitioners, but our experience with the community has been overwhelmingly positive. Falun Gong practitioners attempt to live their core values of truth, compassion, and forbearance. They are persecuted in only one of the 80 countries or so where they live and are good citizens. Matas and I have interviewed a number of Falun Gong practitioners sent to forced labor camps since 1999. Who managed later to leave both the camps and China itself. They told us are working in appalling conditions for up to 16 hours a day daily, with no pay, Mr. Ambassador, and little food, and many sleeping in the same room. They made export products, ladies and gentlemen, ranging from garments to chopsticks to Christmas decorations from multinational companies. Shame on those multinational companies. The labor camps operating across China since the 1950s are outside the legal system, Mr. Ambassador, and allow party members to send anyone to them for up to 4 years with neither hearing nor appeal. All that is needed is to get an obedient police officer, and none of the police officers here today would be like that, I know, to sign an order of committal. The camps are remarkably similar to the ones in Stalin's Russia and Hitler's Germany. Those deaths would not be occurring, as many speakers here today have said, if the Chinese people enjoyed the rule of law and their government believed in the intrinsic importance of each one of them. Human lives across the country appear to have no more value to the party that does health care for the disfavored hundreds of millions of citizens, or for the well-being of Buddhist monks in Tibet. Or as Harry Wu has said, no more value than a cigarette ash. In my judgment, it's the toxic combination, Mr. Ambassador, of totalitarian governance and anything is permitted economics that allows this form of governance to persist. You've heard from other speakers, eloquent speakers, about a wide range of other victims within and outside China. Let me stress only a couple of violations of the core values of the Olympic Charter and movement by the host government. Financial and political support for governments that commit gross human rights violations, including those of Sudan, Zimbabwe, and Burma. Refusing to grant games visas to individuals because of political views, beliefs, writings, association, religion, or ethnicity. Harassing HIV/AIDS activists by government officials, including detention, threats against HIV/AIDS and hepatitis advocates, and closing conferences and meeting of Chinese and foreign HIV/AIDS experts. Exposing workers across China to exploitive and unsafe working conditions. In short, the externalities of low prices for made-in-China goods, which we all buy, are paid for by workers, their families, and the natural environment of China, the air, the water, the soil. Mr. Ambassador, all of these instances of totalitarian governance must cease immediately if these games are to be successful. The party state has manipulated the games in an attempt to legitimize one-party government at home and abroad since virtually the day the IOC awarded them to China. Finally, sorry I've gone on, Nazanin, what the Chinese people have accomplished with extraordinary resilience deserves the entire world's respect, and all of us here today, Mr. Ambassador, have the utmost respect for the 1.3 million residents of your country. Unless the who-when government moves quickly in a host of areas, the Beijing Games, with good reason, will be compared mostly with those of the 1936 Summer Games in Berlin. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.